Hi. On the night Josh Reddick received the biggest piece of jewelry in his life, he went out and made sure the ring wasn't even his best souvenir. This is Astro 67, Josh Reddick. April 3rd, 2018, Baltimore is at Minute Maid Park. Justin Verlander's pitching, and Reddick's about to play both sides by himself. This is only game 6 of the season. Houston comes in at 4-1, while Baltimore's 1-3. There's no standings emergency yet, but this isn't some random Tuesday game in April. The Astros raised their first World Series banner one night earlier. It got stuck under the cover, so somebody broke out a leaf blower. That's a good Houston way to unveil history. The machinery acts up, everybody improvises, and the job still gets done. Right? Tonight's ring night. The players' rings carry 112 diamonds, and Houston Strong is worked into the design after Hurricane Harvey. The electronic sign stealing scandal. Did I say sign stealing? The electronic sign stealing scandal will later complicate the way this title's remembered. Nobody inside Minute Maid Park knows that story yet. Tonight, the feeling is simple. Houston waited 56 years for this. So if your team finally wins its first world championship, would you ever actually wear that ring outside the house? Or would you be afraid to breathe on it? Houston's not treating their title like the end. They added Garrett Cole to the rotation. They already had Justin Verlander. Most of the lineup's back. The goal is to do the whole thing again. Baltimore still thinks it might have one more run in it. Mercado's there, Jones is there, and Showalter's still managing. They don't know yet that this isn't another pennant chase. It's the edge of the cliff. On to Reddick. William Joshua Reddick was born February 19th, 1987 in Savannah, Georgia. He grew up in nearby Guyton. His route to the majors begins with one of the toughest people in his life. When Josh was a baby, his father, Kenny, was hit by more than 7,000 volts in a work accident. Kenny nearly died, lost his left hand, and had his right hand surgically rebuilt. And baseball became part of Kenny's recovery. He taught his sons to hit, while their mother, Cheryl, she became the family pitching machine. Then Josh got cut from his middle school team twice. So Kenny started a travel club called Reddick's Renegades for kids who'd been cut or hadn't tried out. And before long, they were beating teams loaded with players who'd made the middle school squad. Pretty good origin story, isn't it? If someone tells you you're not in the team, build another team and beat them. It's pretty satisfying. Reddick eventually made it at South Effingham High, moving from shortstop to the outfield. At Middle Georgia College, he had .462 with 7 homers and 35 RBI in his only season. Boston took him 523rd overall in 2006. How many 17th rounders even reached the majors? Reddick stuck around for 13 years. He debuted for Boston on July 31st, 2009 at Camden Yards. 2 days later, he hit his first homer. And here's a weird thread. Reddick's first 3 major league homers all came against Baltimore. 9 years later, the Orioles are again standing in the wrong place at the right time. Reddick hit .280 in 87 games for Boston in 2011, and that winter, the Red Sox dumped him to Oakland for Andrew Bailey. That's where his career exploded. In 2012, he hit 32 homers, drove in 85, and won the right field Gold Glove in the American League. The A's stole the American League West on the final day of the season, and Reddick, he's now the middle of the order hitter with a cannon arm. And the power doesn't stay at 32 homers every year. A bad right wrist injury wrecks a lot of 2013 and eventually requires surgery. Still, Reddick produces one absurd weekend in Toronto. 3 homers on Friday, 2 more on Saturday. So even his slumps have trapdoors. By 2015, he's healthy enough to hit .272 with 20 homers and 77 RBI. He's not a superstar, but he's become the kind of complete regular that contenders trust. He also wore Spider-Man gear and carried a replica wrestling belt. He loved Triple H, Ric Flair, and a well-timed "Whoa!" The silliness worked because it never came at the game's expense. Oakland sent Reddick to the Dodgers in 2016. He reached the NLCS, then Houston signed him for 4 years and $52 million. His first Astros season was his best. He batted .314 with an .847 OPS, drove in 82, and helped Houston win the World Series. That woo followed him to Minute Maid Park, and Reddick arrived at this ceremony as a 31-year-old who'd been cut, overlooked, and traded. Now he's a champion, and that could have been enough for one evening. Gradually, though, it becomes clear that he wants control of the game. Okay, the game. Jonathan Schoop gives Baltimore a 1-0 lead with a solo home run. Houston answers when Carlos Correa's drive kicks away from Trey Mancini. Correa circles the bases for a 2-run inside the park homer on a bruised big toe. Correa adds a sac fly in the third, and Houston leads 3-1. Then Reddick takes over with his glove. Baltimore has 2 aboard in the fourth when Mancini drives one towards the right field wall. Reddick finds the fence, times the jump, and pulls back a 3-run homer. So it's just a sacrifice fly. Schoop scores on it, but Reddick turned 3 runs into 1. Do you count that as 2 RBI for the right fielder? You should. They don't, but they go in a different column. An Alex Bregman error puts Schoop aboard in the 6th, and Adam Jones crushes a 2-run homer. Baltimore leads 4-3. This feels like Correa's night, with Reddick supplying one beautiful play. Maybe the ceremony will remain his biggest moment. But the game's been quietly leaning towards him. Now it gets there. Correa reaches in the 6th, and Reddick gives Michael Givens. He drives Michael Givens into the first row in right field. 2-run homer, Houston leads 5-4. Baltimore ties it again in the 7th when Jones singles home Schoop. This game refuses to settle down. So in the bottom half, George Springer doubles home Jake Marisnick. Pedro Araujo scored Bregman, then Correa. Showalter goes to rookie lefty Nestor Cortez. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Reddick comes to the plate. Cortez leaves a breaking ball over the plate. Reddick gets a hold of it and knows immediately. He sends it to the Astros bullpen in right center. Grand slam. The man who erased the 3-run homer has now hit 2 of his own. He's driven in 6, robbed 2. Houston leads 10-5, and the woo is probably detectable by a seismograph. Chance Sisco brings home one more Baltimore run in the 8th, and that's it. Houston wins 10-6. What do you call a night where one player takes a homer away, then hits 2 himself? That's not a good game. It's more like theft with excellent timing. So Reddick went 2 for 4 with 2 homers and 6 RBI, tying his career high. It's his first multi-homer game since 2014. He'd started the year 0 for 8 after seeing Dexter Fowler repeat the same optimistic promise 13 times on Twitter. Reddick copied him. He singled Monday, then detonated on Tuesday. Asked about it afterward, he said, I guess when I go 0 for 8 again, I'll do a tweet again. AJ Hinch said the dugout kept echoing Reddick's promise that a hit was coming. He did considerably more. Showalter says Baltimore couldn't get the 7th inning pitched. The Orioles come within 1 out of escaping a 5-5 game. Instead, Springer breaks the tie, and Reddick blows the doors off. Verlander gets no decision after 9 strikeouts in 5 2/3. Hector Rondon gets the win. And Reddick? He goes home with his ring. Some teammates are nervous about wearing theirs. Reddick says his is magnificent, then adds, I think I might sleep in mine tonight. And after that game, wouldn't you? Houston completes the sweep and starts the season 6-1. The Astros win a franchise record 103 games and another AL West title. The staff leads the majors in ERA and strikeouts. They sweep Cleveland, then meet a 108-win Boston club. Houston takes Game 1 of the ALCS, then loses the next 4. Reddick finishes at .242 with 17 jacks, 47 batted in. Another April Grand Slam gives him 2 in the month. A first for the Astros. His bat cools off, but he plays 128 outfield games without an error and records 9 assists. He also hits .269 in the postseason with 4 RBI and a homer in Game 1 of the ALCS. The ending hurts, but Reddick isn't the reason Houston falls short. Baltimore finishes 47 and 115. Ugh. The worst season in Baltimore history. Machado goes to the Dodgers, and the teardown keeps moving. Showalter and baseball chief Dan Duquette are gone after the season. On April 3, the Orioles keep climbing back into this game. But in the wider story, they're already falling. Reddick remains Houston's primary right fielder through 2020. He hits .275 with 14 homers 2019, and the Astros returned to the World Series. Washington came back to win Game 7. Wish I didn't have to keep saying that. The shortened 2020 season is his last in Houston. The Astros reach another ALCS, rally from 3 games down, and finally lose Game 7 to Tampa Bay. Reddick hits .258 for Arizona in 2021, then has a short AAA stop with the Mets. Later on, he plays in Mexico and Australia. He retires in March 2023 with 1,157 hits, 146 home runs, and a .262 average. He also has a Gold Glove in the ring that he may or may not have slept in. Houston returns home. Reddick works on Astros broadcasts, and in 2026, he returns as a guest instructor for the club's young outfielders. The former 17th rounder gets to teach kids how to stay in the league and find the wall without looking. Which Reddick do you remember first? The Oakland power hitter, the Houston woo guy, or the right fielder stealing homers at the fence? Next time, we're trading the baseball diamond for the ice, going back to October 12th, 2017. All right, the Blues are 4-0, trying to start 5-0 for the first time in franchise history. Florida scores 5 straight and ruins that plan, but in the final minute, a 20-year-old defenseman fires home his first NHL goal. The game belonged to the Panthers, but the moment belonged to Vince Dunn, and that's Blue 18. But this was Astro 67. Josh Reddick spent most of his career as the guy stars needed beside them. He defended, supplied left-handed balance, and brought a little bit of noise to the room. But every now and then, the supporting player grabs the whole game and refuses to give it back. April 3rd, 2018 was one of those nights. 1 ring, 1 stolen home run, 6 RBI on 2 homers. Not too bad for a kid who couldn't make his middle school team. I'm the Wolf. This is Sports Lab 100, and thanks for sticking around. Maybe I'll see you next time.